Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by David Polleri, who's head of data platform at Qonto, and they're building a digital neobank for businesses. A really cool product that's been on the market now for a couple of years. We're going to deep dive into a little bit more about their data platform and talking a little bit about building data pipelines, a data warehouse, amongst other things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the business and what they're building for the future. David, thanks for coming to join us.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Very pleased to be on that podcast. I'm pretty sure we are going to cover a lot of very interesting topics over this next hour.
We will, and we did agree we'll avoid the football for now.
Yes, it's too soon to
So
talk about football.
very much too soon. So for everyone listening, give us a bit of an insight into David, your background, and who you are.
Sure. So, well, I'm David. I've been around the block for over 20 years. Started as a software engineer, beginning of 2000. I'm French, as my accent can show. So worked a few years in France as a software engineer until I decided in the mid 2000 to go to London, where I spent 8 to 9 years building software. Um, it was like a golden age of software engineering for contractors. You can just jump from one contract to another and always learn something new. And I did that for a few years until I settled at eBay, where I did my first steps as an engineering manager back 2012, 13, 14, 15. And after those few years in England, where I had the opportunity to meet so incredible talent, cultural diversity, and made my English what it is today. Then I decided to take a challenge of becoming a CTO in a sports company, a startup in south of France, in Nice, where I live at the moment. And it was an interesting experience as being the one in charge, building a product for the sports, football. I'm a football fan, so it was a great few years. And then after that, I moved on towards more like a video game industry, esports. So to as well build a platform to help gamers become better gamers and better individual to address some of the toxicity we have in video games, especially in the younger generation. So very interesting topics. And then 2.5 years ago, decided to join Qonto, a fintech, as the head of backend at the time. So looking after backend teams of a bank, large group of engineers at Qonto. It's 400 engineers. Not all in backend throughout all the stack, but so I looked at part of the backend. And 2 years after that, it felt that I smelled something like very interesting on the data platform, and very interesting because very uh, both green and with high expectation in terms of value and in terms of what we can bring to the company. So then I decided to leverage my backend and software engineering expertise to work towards more like a data world. I was myself already very close to the data engineering space anyway, so the gap wasn't too difficult to at least get started. And then I've been doing that for the last 8 months, very proudly, building and running this team of data platform at Qonto.
Good for you. And that transition, I can imagine, was easy and difficult both at the same time. You know the business, you know the stack, you know the people, probably know quite a lot of the challenges, but different space that we're going to uncover and talk a little bit more about today, which I'm looking forward to. And talk to us a little bit about Qonto. I've seen Qonto from afar now for a few years. I've seen a number of people join the business who are excellent people that I've worked with in the past. The business has evolved as well, to my understanding. So it'd be really good to understand from your side, Qonto as a core business, what problems are you solving as well?
Sure. So Qonto is one of those incredible success story here in Europe. When you look at it, the company has been here seven years. Started from a very small pool of people trying to solve a problem of making business banking easy for easy to use, easy and modern. Um, when I joined the company 2.5 years ago, we were 400 employees. Today we are 1,600. So, as a massive, massive growth, first is that we have raised a lot of money over the years, around 600 million. Our company has been valued $4.5 billion 2 years ago. Um, so there's a big interest in what we are building, in how we are building it, and the market is responding to it. So what do we do? Well, we are providing online banking for businesses. Today, 500,000 of customers are using us. And why are they using us? They're using us because it works. Honestly, the company, the business, the product works. And a lot of product work, not just Qonto only works, but it works in a way where when you think on online banking, banking in general, we operate in a space where systems are quite old, quite dated. We come in with a very different perspective. So we put a strong focus on making sure that it's fast, that it works well, that user experience provides a great journey. But we address also what is important. So business account on your cards, expense invoice management, booking and cash flow. All those things are what you need to operate your business and focus on your activity. And whenever you don't feel like you don't have enough, then we offer a lot of integrations with third parties system, your accounting system or any other system you have around it. So it just works. It is very simple. Now, another aspect of our focus is about our customer support. Today, our company NPS is extremely high, it's 75. If you think of customer satisfaction, it means that we operate as a very high level of trust from our customers, and that has a massive snowball effect on our acquisition of new customers and how happy they are to use our product. So yes, in a nutshell, this is what Qonto provides. We operate in France, Spain, Germany, and Italy. So whenever you're a business, you can open your account. In a few days, you're served, you have your card, and then you can roll.
And just understanding that, so B2B, 500,000 customers,
Yeah, absolutely.
the business has really thrived in the last couple of years with a valuation like that a couple of years ago, considering where the fintech market has been over the last even 4 years. That is just phenomenal. That is just phenomenal numbers. Um, I think it would be really good to touch on where you think the value creation is that Qonto brings, because you do touch on customer support, and that's obviously a really high level, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's so widely used and respected in the industry, and probably another reason why people don't want to move away from the product. But it'd be good to understand the value creation the whole Qonto product itself you feel brings, and we can get into the technical nitty gritties that are going to be also interesting.
Yes. So you're right. It's well, the way we built the product is really to to keep always our customer in mind whenever it's not just about the customer support. It's about building the right features. It's about building it as we call it right first time. So the level of quality we put in what we deliver is spotless. So the stability of a platform, a product, and good customer support, and being spot on in what our customers are expecting to not uh, spend time on Qonto. We don't want them to spend time on us. We want us to be a support. Basically, our product helps our customer focus on their activity and not focus on, oh, I need to do this paperwork, or I need to mark my account. No, you pay something with your bank card. You take a picture of your receipt. It's already immediately put in the right account with the right label. It takes no time, and we are a massive enabler for to keep your as much um, focus away from your banking system, right? So that's why customer like us, because it's just we're not on the way. It's simple. It just works instantly. As an example, I received a bank transfer on a Sunday morning. I got a notification. I made a transfer that same within the same 5 minutes, and it happened. It arrived on my other bank account within minutes. All of that on a Sunday morning instantly. This kind of thing, it just works. It's simple. It's super efficient. But saying that it just works doesn't mean that it's easy. And underneath, the system to power that is extremely complex. We have our own core banking system. We have massive distributed architecture underneath, and our mobile and web applications are extremely complex and brings a lot of challenges. Uh, but all of that, making a hard and complex into a simple solutions, that I think is something we're good at.
Should we dive into some of that complexity and tough challenges? All right. Let's talk about your involvement in the business. So, head of platform, distributed architectures. Just go into a little bit more detail. If someone was to pull open the hood and look at the simplicity of what you've been able to do at Qonto, like what are you likely to find under the hood, like those challenges, those technical challenges?
So yeah, it's a good question, because so just to give a bit of an idea of how we organized first in terms of technical tools. So um, in a tech product, we have tech product and data as, I would say, three pillars of our engineering. They all report to our CTO, Enrico Augustin, and so I belong to the data part. Um, if when you start digging into the teams, you realize that we are operating by stack. So the tech and product part is we have backend stack, mobile stack, split into Android and iOS, and web stack. So the backend is operating with Ruby, Golang, and some Python. The web is relying on uh, uh, Ember and React, and on the mobile you will have Android, Kotlin, and Swift. So that's for the type of organization. Then we have what we call cross-functional teams, who represent, who take a bit of each of the stacks and build functional teams around a specific domain. Right? So that's for a tech and product perspective. The data is slightly different. Data teams are operating. We have four different teams. One data platform teams, one I head up, and then we have a BI team, a data scientist team, a machine learning and data product team that are consuming the data that we are exposing. So the complexity, if you think in terms of engineering, pure engineering, is that we built our own core banking system. So we don't rely on any other bank. Some people ask sometimes, okay, but Qonto, does it belong? What's the real bank behind it? No, no, no. We have a real bank. We are so it's no. We have built our own system, and with that comes a lot of benefits, because when we are at home, comes with a lot of challenges in terms of auditability, and banking in Europe is extremely regulated and extremely supervised. So we are complying to all those rules. So in terms of challenges, is that we can't just be kind of accurate. Right? It has to be always spot on everywhere. So that's a challenge for the backend teams to build always spot on reconciliation, accounting, and things like that, and for the data team as well, as we are exposing a lot of data to the regulator. Then we need to, we can't spare the effort on being just spot on when we look at numbers. So that's one of the challenges. Second challenge is that, well, even though we have 500,000 customers, so I wouldn't say that it's a massive, massive throughput of data coming in if you compare to social networks or those things that have much more inflow of data. However, um, our system is highly distributed because it has to be highly resilient, and that brings a lot of engineering challenges in making sure that we have the right infrastructure in place. So we have an infrastructure team. Our SRE team is absolutely central to how we operate our infrastructure, which is on AWS. but operated by a team in-house. And the nature of a number of engineers that were working on the product means that we need to build a very distributed system where we can work together and not on one monolith. So we have the best practices in terms of engineering, and the microservice architecture, relying on Kafka event system, and that's the kind of a challenge that we have, because then Kafka is powerful, but also brings a lot of complexity with it, especially when you start to do more than just pub sub with it, which is definitely what we're doing much more than that. So that's from the, I would say, the backend part. And on the web part, the challenges is that we have built our application in Ember.js, and now we are moving toward React application. So that comes with a lot of challenges to do that, not to build the React itself, but we are operating and we don't want our customer to struggle to face some of the issues we are and challenges we are facing. So it's like we want to change pieces of a car while the car is moving without anyone in the car noticing that we are changing the wheel or the door. So that comes with a lot of challenges, but we have very competent people in charge of that to make sure it happens. Yes. And from a data perspective, where now I am, the challenges are more towards how do we build a single source of truth that can be used not just by the data people, the analytic people, but by the whole business to make better data-driven decision. That's usually what data is for, but not only. The way we see it is about how do we have a single source of truth that can be reused by everyone in the company, including the one emitting the data. So it's not just about, I've got my data on the left, I do something, it goes on the right, and eventually some analyst will pick up and do some dashboards, which is a very valuable use of data. The way we see it is that, yes, that's one journey for data, but that's only a journey. What the real journey is, how do we govern data in the right way? How do we make sure that the one emitting the data is also accountable for it, for his contract, for the exactitude of the data that he's sharing, and how we build a platform that enables other people to take some of the data product that has been generated and make their own, build their own system on it. And not just for analytical. I mean, we are, as mentioned, we are as a fintech. Um, it's not just about analytics. It's about fraud detection. It's about helping our customer support. It's about helping a potential new customer to come on the platform and needing some help. So there is a lot of things that we can do with data, and that's very much the area around.
I think you touch on a really interesting part that I want to ask you. And your reference was building a data platform. How is this different to data engineering in your world, or even in Qonto's
Yeah.
world?
So the thing is with data, in scale up and startup, and even in a company like Qonto today, we are 1,600 employees. So we're not like a small startup anymore. But then data, when you build a product, is often second-class citizen, because we want first to build the product. We want to get acquisition. We want to get traction. Otherwise, there is no company and there is no need to build anything on data. So, and when you go as fast as Qonto did, then you are fast tracking that need for data, but you don't necessarily uh, build a data platform, for the next 10, 5, 10 years at first, because you don't need to. And so you start to build organically some data to get some insights and some KPIs on how business is doing. You want to raise money, so you need to know how many customers you have, you need to know all these kind of things. So you start to build data pipelines and have some start of having a bit of an intelligence on it. And data engineers for years have built those pipeline, to make sure that the data was usable somewhere. Today, data engineers, they are closer to data ops than data engineers, in the sense that what they are here to build is to make sure that the data flows in a resilient manner, in a predictable manner, so it can then be picked up by the rest of the people who want to enhance the data. So data engineers, they are now focused on a very specific part, like the transaction, the transport part, making sure that the data coming from the various sources always come in time, always come well, and dealing with all the complexity of having to integrate with different systems, and third party, external tools, APIs, but also our core backbone, which is Kafka. So that's what the focus is on our data engineers today, um, which is much more narrow than what it used to be, and building the whole data pipeline, but much more critical to get the data in place, because um, you would say, well, but we don't, David, what if the data is late an hour or 2 hours or a day? It's a dashboard, analytical dashboard to know if you have a X customer last month, it's not going to change. Yes, but that's only if we think data in terms of analytical. If you think data as, yes, but this data is here to help fraud operator to know if someone is having demonstrating a fraudulent behavior pattern, then the data needs to be here. So having it the day after, it's maybe going to impact our customers. So it's much more business. It becomes suddenly much more business critical. Therefore, narrower focus, but more depth into it.
Okay. I think that's a really solid explanation, as in, especially understanding how the wider business can actually use some of this value that the data platform is being built for is really key. And I think other businesses can actually take away from this that, building data pipelines or building a data warehouse, like think about holistically all of the data inside of your business, not just your customer data and what do we need to sell or what do we need to do. So I think that's a really, really good example.
Yeah, and if I were to add to that, I mean, when we uh, as a if you want more than just analytics on your data, suddenly when you're opening a new set of issues that you didn't really think about before. Because before, you're like, okay, I've got my data, I'm going to kimball them into a into a nice dimension and facts, and that will be all nice and usable for our BI team. We are going to have very efficient queries. Snowflake works very well, all good. But then suddenly, then you'll have your security team or your fraud team telling you, David, I really like to see the raw data on the card transaction. Not the dimension and fact that you exposed, but something a bit more raw. Said, uh, why would you want it raw? I mean, you got it all there. Yes, but raw can do more things to it. And actually, raw in the minds of people using data is the data straight from the backend systems. That's what raw means. However, the backend systems, they are built in a way that serves the purpose of what they're building of their services. So there are a lot of things to transform and to understand, a lot of implementation detail in backend system. So there is a line between I want the raw data and I want raw and curated data, which is more what our stakeholder want to build on top of it. And what we are building there is layer, that normalized layer that is much closer to the source, that represents our core objects and the data at its rawest representation. So it's not about getting all the backend data into one place and say, okay, just play with it, because that brings a lot of risk in terms of if backend wants to change something, then it has impact everywhere. So we don't want that. We want to bring a good abstraction, and we don't want necessarily to bring dimensional models to the table for end users, because not everyone wants to consume dimensional models. So here comes the question: is okay. So how do we build data model that stand the test of time and can be used by everyone? So that's the key challenge. In a
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, even another interesting challenge that I think comes to my mind is in how do you go about building this data platform? As in, what are the product methodologies that actually go into building something like this?
so it's So what we're building is we want to build those data models, right? That's the core of a data warehouse. We want to build those data models, and we want them to be self-discoverable. We want to have only one single source of truth, and we want them to be exhaustive, right? So um, if you the way we approach it is by uh, forgetting how the data is coming and where it's going. So it's quite an unusual approach when you think about it, because yeah, but I don't know about this domain, but I don't know about cards or customer support or a transaction. But actually, when you start thinking about it rapidly, you land somewhere that is not too far from the, from the real world, because what we are trying to model is real life situations. So of course, you may not have all the detail, but you know what a customer is, you know what a user is, you know what a company is. So we go from a very blank page and not looking at the source too much, because the source is an influence on the data model that we don't want to have at this stage, and surely not at the destination and how it's been used, because then we get influenced by models that are built for analytical purposes. So they don't really represent a core object, they represent something that is convenient to be used and to be queried. And thinking too much about that will influence our model. And a good data model should adapt anyway to any circumstance. If data model is good, well thought through, robust, then doing the transformation to make it into a dimensional model that can be used by BI, that's not the hard part. The hard part is to build the right expertise on the domain. So that's our method. So first we grow a lot of expertise into each domain, each core domain. So how do we do that? We have a team of analytics engineers, and we have subject expert, matter expert in each of those areas. And practically, what it means that, well, when we're talking about transaction, there's someone in the company, in the data platform team, who knows what a transaction is better than anyone probably in the company, even possibly better than the one who built car transaction system, because they have an overview of the usage on both sides, the way it's constructed and the way it's been used. And we build those models completely agnostically to how it's used. So that's the first thing. Then after that, of course, we try to get we get feedback, and it's a teamwork at the end of the day, right? This is just to start with. But starting like that really made us gain a lot of time versus exploring and reverse engineering how the data was coming in, because that's a very tough exercise and bring very little value compared to building it and then trying to make it agnostic and useful.
Okay. They're they're two really interesting product methodologies. How recent is the data platform to the business? And where do you see the data platform taking you as a business?
So data platform team has been here for a couple of years. So I've been here into 9 months. The first version of a data platform intended to do something similar to what we're doing today, but the situation required a lot more groundwork to get our business intelligence team running. So we needed a lot of data, um, and we needed to explore a lot more before landing where we are today. So the way the data platform is taking us to a place where data is not anymore data platform is not anymore the pre-work for analytical needs, but it's central to anyone who want to use data at Qonto, whether in an automatic manners, we are building data products, for example, or doing some an analysis or data scientist, or whether someone just wants to explore the warehouse and make their own queries because they just want to know how their feature is doing without having to set up a big Tableau dashboard. Um, so that's one thing. The second thing is that to enable more people to use data, to make sure that it doesn't serve an analytical purpose, data needs to be fresh. It cannot be batch based. Yes, I did a load last night. It's ready. No, it needs to be real time. So we are streaming the data. That's what we're doing. That's what we're building at the moment. And when you ask where is it taking us, then it's taking us toward a streaming data platform where the data comes in, get transformed in real time into data models that can be reused by anyone in the company, and then serves, of course, ethical purposes, but much more the fraud one, security one, and all the other use cases that we have in mind to make sure that our customers benefit from the data. And that is a massive enabler for the company, because as soon as we can enrich the data from its source and through its various pipeline, transformation pipeline and enrichment goes back to the source, then suddenly, as a product, you have a very extensive set of capabilities, such as you're building, you want to know how your customers online is doing things, then you have a whole set of stream process that will enrich his experience with data that you get from what he's doing, what he should be doing, or recommendation, for example. Or if someone is exhibiting a fraudulent behavior or potential, then you can immediately act on it because the data is streamed in real time and it can flag the right thing in real time. So it brings a lot of capabilities for business.
That it sounds like a massive enabler, and I think the fact that this data platform can be really quite central to the business, used by anyone in the business, multi-purpose, will provide so much value to the business. And it's probably met with the maturity of where you are as a business as well, where you're able to harness that. Being the size and scale that you are now, with the volume of customers that you work within, the large volume of data probably gives you some really, really good, valuable insights to keep on building your business in the right way and iterate.
Yes, we of course, you know, in our DNA, we are very much data focused. So everything is backed up by numbers. All of our problem solving, we have a lot of different framework to help our continuous improvement mindset, and it's always backed up with numbers and impact and value. That's for sure. Another thing is that, yes, we grew very fast, so we have now a very interesting amount of data coming in, but also we grew very fast in terms of also employees, which means that we have more people wanting to build things and starting to build things. So another purpose of a data platform is to make sure that we normalize a little bit how data goes in the cloud, because data is sensitive. Right? We have a lot of very sensitive information, so we are very aware that we don't want any of our data to go internally into teams, then float around and be used without much governance. So we put a strong effort in making sure that the data is well governed. Then, of course, personal informations are obfuscated and things like that. But also, we have a strong focus in making sure that the data is centralized, and that centralization is super important uh, because it guarantees there's some sort of overview on the data, and for us in data platform, and makes our life much easier when it comes about governance of the data, making sure that the access are legit and genuine, making sure that we have the data as a proper life cycle, and whenever we need to delete things, then it's easily identifiable, and these kind of things.
Love that. That's been 30 minutes of a really good deep dive into Qonto, data platform, how you're building this thing, and some of the challenges. I'm always asking this every single podcast. I think the technology industry is evolving fast. I'm really keen to understand, what do you think are as in the top three things that you think a software engineer needs to be able to thrive in the industry, or let's just say an engineer needs to thrive in the industry right now before we wrap up?
Okay. Well, I think that I think it's been the case forever, just not right now. It's about keeping a mindset of keeping learning, and having a lot of self discipline into learning new things is absolutely essential. because with the multiplications of engineers, of engineering schools, and the reduction of uh, you know the opportunities for other people coming from different backgrounds to touch into engineering, then there's a lot of people on the market. So you want to be different. It's not about being that 10x engineer who just does things, and no, you want to be someone who want to learn, who want to also mean want to solve problem. So if you want to be successful today, I think it's about wanting to learn, wanting to solve problem, and being a team player. I think on the long term, if you have those three things, you'll succeed, because you will adapt to situation. Languages, they evolve, technology, framework, pattern, all of that, and there's always something new coming in. So it's not about being an expert in that; it's about learning to become an expert in no time. And I think it's
I love what you said there. Having the self discipline to continually learn. You could apply that to anywhere in life, to be fair, but I think that is such a skill and one that I hear a lot, one that I agree with.
yeah. And the thing, and you see, it's like, yeah, it's obvious, David, but no, actually, it's not that obvious, because when you're stuck when you're in your project writing your code, uh, and then sometimes it's very easy to say, "Oh, I've done that already once. I can do it the same." No, 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 no. If you do if you do it the same, then you make a mistake. Just try to make it better, and
Okay, I love that.
it's constantly, constantly, constantly. Yeah, there's a little gesture that goes a long way.
Okay, love that. Round us off with Qonto, next 12 months in terms of how the business is growing. Obviously, you've grown a lot. If there are plans to grow, it'd be good to understand what those plans are, who you're going to be hiring. This podcast touches thousands of people who are naturally very interested in what companies are building and how they're building them. So, a really good opportunity to talk about some of the growth, and hit the right people.
Yes, sure. Well, thanks for this opportunity to mention that. So it's see, the way we grow at Conto is that even though we raised a lot of money, we rapidly, almost from day one, decided that we are not going to spend more than what we earn. So we don't want to fire people. That's not our model. We want to sustain people, and we want to keep growing. So by keeping this strong discipline of spending, investing as much as we earn, keeps both, line in the charts parallel, of expand the spending and the revenue. But that guarantees that there is not like a deficit deceiving effect at some point when numbers are not here. So we keep growing, we keep hiring, and make sure that we always keep this growth. And our growth has been constant throughout the years, so we are in a very healthy position. Um, what we are looking today is that we are hiring in a lot of areas in tech. Really, in tech, we are looking for people in backend teams. We are looking for people in data team. I'm looking for people in data platform team. So on our website, you see all the opportunities, but you have plenty in tech, and not just in tech. We are hiring in a lot of our areas. But yes, plenty of opportunities, whether you are a Ruby Golang engineer and you want to build some backend system, or you want to, crack on cool data modeling and be part of an analytic engineering team. We have opportunities, and etc. etc. So we have plenty of it.
For everyone listening, I think these last 40 minutes hopefully are really good evidence of a business that has built sustainability into their business, that has a really large customer base that obviously love the product and love the product because it's good at what it does. Some really, really interesting engineering challenges across a myriad of technologies, across a number of different locations. Um, so definitely go and check these guys and girls out. David's page is underneath, careers page is underneath for everyone to go and visit. More about what they're doing, and if there's a role that's right for you, apply, reach out to the folks, talk to them.
Absolutely.
From engineers, thank you for coming to listen to the podcast. Likes, shares, subscribing, and all of that good stuff is massively appreciated to obviously continually grow the podcast and the ecosystem itself. David, I want to say a massive thanks. Thanks for coming to join us. Thanks for representing Qonto and being a great guest.
Well, thank you very much, Elliot. It was a pleasure to speak to you, and really enjoyed this 40 minutes we spent together.
Absolute pleasure. And from Engineers and Artifeks, myself, bye for now. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.